They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Loan you that college promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of all nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
So we, eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful friends, welcome to your Sunday night edition of Rogue Ways. It has been a long time since we did just this one-on-one sort of show and not had a guest with us. So nice to see you all again. It's exciting for me. I really enjoy these shows a lot, and I have a super special one here for you today about our coming our coming astrological omens and how it aligns with some very important changes and all the ins and outs of that we're going to talk about. You know, it's coming up on the solstice, the winter solstice, which is its own important day anyways, and there's just a lot going on and a lot to unpack. So we're going to get into all of that, and I have a very extra special announcement to make at the end of the episode and an invitation to make to all of you, and I'm very excited about that as well. It's going to be really, really cool. So we'll get into all of that. I am excited to say what's up to the people in the chat for the first time in a while, because when I have people on, it's hard to say what's up to the people in the chat. But what's up to the people in the chat? We got Jeff Green in the house. What's up, Jeff? We got Lacey. What's up, Lacey? We got Regan tonight. Evening, gentlemen, there to yourself. We've got Mateo here as well, and we have a ton of people who haven't said hello yet. Feel free to say what's up in the chat. I appreciate and love all of you guys and your comments and your super chats and your stickers and everything. It's awesome. And if you didn't know, there's a couple places that you can find more than just these episodes that are live 3 times a week at 7 p.m. Mountain. As you can see, rogue.locals.com is one of them. Another is my site here, where you can find so very much. There's a lot going on in this site. There's a lot to poke around and see. There's, you know, articles, poetry, and whatever. Here on the page, it lists a bunch of it. There's 13 pages of that. That's plenty if you want to go looking. I love down at the bottom, there's this really fun video of this beautiful octopus. And the noosphere, I love that you can click around with the tags. But anyway, that's there. You can also get linked up to some of my other things going on. I write books and I do tarot, and all of that can also be found in the shop area of the site, where you can find art and writing. This is where you can see where to buy my books. This is the only place where you can buy my books with a signature. That's right. Sine Curve of Aeons and Earth, A Trough in Time. They are in the same series. You can read them in any order. And I will sign them and write a special inscription that will only happen once, because I never, ever, ever write them down. So I'm sure I couldn't duplicate them if I tried. So it's unique to you. And we'll sign it and send it to you. This includes shipping and tax, folks. This is like $10 off the price you can get on Amazon, and it comes with a signature. So it's a pretty rockin' deal, as I think are most things that I sell. This new one is Luna's Lullaby. This is a multimedia collage that I did a little while ago, and people really liked it. So I made that available on Canvas for you if you want to own that beauty and put it in your home, just like it is hanging in mine, the original. So that's the new art and writing section of the shop. I just wanted to go into detail with it because it's new. Oops. But I also, of course, do orgone pendants and plaques of various sizes. They're very high energy. They're very powerful. They're infused with so much goodness for you. There is Rogue Ways gear that you can grab. And I do many classes, group classes, one-on-one classes. I do tarot readings. I do life guidance sessions. I do just so much stuff, and we're actually going to get into a new offer there later. And I also, again, want to invite you to rogue.locals.com. We have the best community on the internet as far as I'm concerned. I am so excited that this is growing. We just started this. It's still brand new. And so, and we already have 82 people who are contributing and participating with a lot of active supporters. I really appreciate the support. So if you're out there and you love Rogue Ways and you've been listening for a while and you find value in this content, then this is the place to come. Not only get more, share, interact with the badass people that seem drawn to this show, but also support the show. This is the best way to support the show, is through rogue.locals.com. So that is what's going on there. I'm going to see what the chat's talking about. By the way, Mateo in the chat wrote one of the most popular articles that's even on the site. People search for it all the time and come see it and read it, and it's awesome. So it's MK Ultra, Jeffrey Epstein, and something else. If you want to find it on the site, it's a pretty popular one. But thank you for that, Mateo. All credit to Mateo. I'm not pregnant. Every time I say I have an announcement, people think I'm pregnant. I'm not pregnant. What's up, Matt Feinberg in the house? What's up, Jeff? The other Jeff. Got double Jeffs in the chat here. Lindsay Smith is here. We also have 2 Lindsay Smiths. It's pretty cool. Brother Lindsay. You call me Brother Lindsay, you call me Dad. That's what my students used to call me. What's up, RL Gill? You haven't missed much. I was just telling people where the site is and how to get to rogue.locals.com and join the community. Lacey Mariposa has some orgone earrings just like the ones I'm wearing here, which you probably can't see because I'm tiny down there in the corner, but they're really powerful and you can wear them everywhere you go. So, yeah, we're going to talk about the winter solstice this year. It's a very special one. It's very different from anything that's happened in a very long time. And so it's exciting. There's a lot going on. I know you guys have been hearing about this. I know I've been talking about doing this show for a long time, but I did want to wait until we were closer to the solstice. And I also then had this like awesome, just like guest after guest after guest after guest after guest. We just finished off season 4. Season 5 is going to start soon. It's pretty amazing. That went really quickly. But so yeah, I haven't had time to do a one-on-one episode because I've had so many awesome guests, and you should go check out all those episodes if you haven't seen them. But the winter solstice is coming. It's just like some basics. It is the shortest day of the year in terms of amount of light. Of course, that varies by location because we're not all directly on the equatorial ecliptic like plate that shoots out from the equator of the Earth, and so we're not all going to experience the exact timing of the solstice. Actually has to do with the galactic ecliptic that shoots out from the middle line. I've gone over this on the show so many times because it's so rarely understood, and it took me a long time to understand it. And a lot of people in our community like think that the solstice is misreported and they're hiding something from us. And while they might be, there's actually a very good explanation for why we see a different amount of light on any given day. But it's very close either way. It tends to be around the shortest day of the year, shortest daylight, longest night. And this year, it's going to happen on Monday, December 21st, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, 2020. Different times depending. So for me, it'll be at 3 a.m. on that day. But just so you know, it changes from year to year. One year it was on the 23rd. Some years it's the 22nd. One year it was the 19th, in my life at least. So it can change from year to year because, again, it has to do with that, that galactic alignment and when things align. So it changes depending on when that happens. It doesn't have to be on a certain date. We just in general tend to be like, oh, it's on the 21st. But it's not always. But this year it is. So it's on December 21st, which also people are pointing out is 12/21. So there's some fun number play there. So there's like a mirror, which is connecting to the astrological things that are happening. I shouldn't say a mirror, like you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it is a mirror. It like reverses it. Yes. Okay. A mirror. 2020. And also 2020 is another type of mirror. So it's a different kind. But anyway, it's fun with numbers, right? Lots of 2s, lots of 1s, lots of mirroring. And that is happening. So as well as this solstice, this was not what I wanted to go to next. But we'll do it anyway. As well as the solstice, there's this prophecy. There's actually many prophecies. And this is mostly a Christian prophecy. I myself haven't seen it in other, God, my words are failing me. Traditions. If you know of any, let us know. I would love to know that. But I find so many of these prophecies that have to do with 3 days of darkness. And they all are coming from the Christian, Catholic, that sort of Judeo-Christian background. So one of them is Padre Pio or Pio. It's probably Pio because it's probably Latin. He wrote supposedly this letter. This is in like 1850, I want to say. Oh, sorry, 1950. Much more recently. And he wrote this letter to, I want to say, the Pope, maybe. And it was a prophecy. Like, this had been revealed to him spiritually. And so he wanted to warn everybody. This is one of the most dramatic sections of this letter. And it has to do with these 3 days of darkness that are going to come. As far as I could tell reading this, he doesn't say exactly when this is going to be, although it was written in 1950, and I do believe that he thought it would be very soon, and it clearly hasn't happened as far as we know. But he said there's going to be 3 days of darkness, and we should keep our windows well covered. We should not look out. We shouldn't even look outside. Light a blessed candle, which will suffice for many days. So one of those big candles. Pray the rosary, read spiritual books, make acts of spiritual communion, also acts of love, which are so pleasing to us. I don't know if he's talking about sex or what. Pray with outstretched arms or prostrate on the ground in order that many souls may be saved. Do not go outside the house. Provide yourself with sufficient food. The powers of nature shall be moved, and a rain of fire shall make people tremble with fear. But have courage. I am in the midst of you. Sounds pretty terrifying. Like, don't even go outside. Just pray, pray, pray for 3 straight days. You have to have enough food and water because you can't go outside. If you even look outside, it's going to be bad. Like, damn. Like, that sounds pretty rough. That would definitely be a terrifying thing to live through, whatever that was. Fire raining down from the sky, you hiding in your room, praying. And that's what he says. And you can go into detail, take care of your animals. Don't even go across the yard to feed your animals. And the idea is, like, people have read into this, is that there's going to be some sort of toxic gas, or maybe it's a volcano spewing fumes, and then that's why the fire is raining down. And a volcano could also spit ash up into the air that could block out the sun for 3 days. So it could be this localized 3 days of darkness. And if you read it like that, maybe this did happen, right? Maybe he's absolutely right. Maybe in some specific location after 1950, there was a volcano, and for 3 days it felt dark. Maybe even when Mount St. Helens exploded, I know that that was a really big deal and covered a large portion of the planet and did make it pretty dark for a few days. And you wouldn't have necessarily wanted to go outside because you'd be breathing in ash. That would be a time, by the way, where it would be important to wear a mask over your face. Anyways, it could be something like that, Check in with the chat. See what you guys are saying. Cherry Falls is in the house. What's up, Cherry Falls? Donna Morley is here. Nice to see you. Lindsay Smith says, my orgone is fire. Thank you. I really love it. I'm not lying to you that I was not expecting anything but to make pretty looking things and maybe sort of orgone-ish. And I made them, and people who are spiritually attuned have been like, holy crap, what's that? And my own spiritual allies had come to me the day that I made them and were like, that's like a lot more powerful than you know. I was like, huh, okay. So they're not only gorgeously beautiful, in my opinion. I like the artistic things I make, but they're also pretty powerful. So if you want some, get some. Regan also has an orgone plaque, and he says he's thinking of getting one for his mom as well. They are great presents, and Christmas is coming up. So just say my orgone is probably cheaper than most people's because I am horrible to myself like that. But seriously, it's a great deal. And if you like orgone and you think it's pretty, go grab some. I don't have any earrings right now, but maybe I'll try to make some soon if you guys are interested. Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding us, Regan. Today is 11/22. I woke up this morning and I was like, oh my God, it's like the best day. I love number patterns, and I love 11, and I love 22. 22 is one of my favorite numbers. So pretty cool day. 22 and half of 22. Smiling Knight is also in the house. Nice to see you too. So yes, Padre Pio writing this letter about doom and gloom and the 3 days of darkness. The thing is, and he has all these instructions and these signs, like you'll know it's coming because this and this and this will happen, and then closer to the time this and this and this will happen. It's going to be really cold at night. It goes on like this for a bit. But this is interesting. Those who disregard this advice will be killed instantly. You're like, damn, that's really fast. Could happen, right? If there's literally poisonous gas on the wind and fire raining down, then it could definitely happen. So the other thing that this sounds like it could be, not that I know, but that according to movies, is like some sort of, meteor or asteroid or whatever coming to Earth and bringing who knows what gases and who knows what raining fire and trembling of the Earth and all of these things could be like that too. And I also genuinely think people who see the future, often that future will be diverted somehow. The future is a finicky thing. It's not here yet. And there's literally infinite versions of it. So I myself have seen, future events and dreams and other things, and many of it, the aspects of it have played out, and then part of it didn't play out. And I understand why looking back, but in looking ahead and wondering if it was even going to happen, and then some of it started to, and being like, holy shit, this is happening. And then it doesn't finish the way I saw it. It's like, I can definitely see how you could have a prophecy and part of it could come true or none of it could come true. And that didn't make it less real or true. It just made it, possibly even by you seeing it, sort of changed how things would happen because you act differently then, right? And who knows what sorts of like butterfly effect things like ripple off from that. So it's just interesting to think about that just on Padre Pio's behalf, we'll say that, and understand that. But, God's saying to him, I've chosen all these other people in other countries to also hear this so they can also warn people, and just very interesting. I also wonder, and I have to say, in 1950, did we have voice-to-skull technology? Like, probably, maybe. It's likely. It's possible. Were they using it on people to have them experience things like this that were very convincing? I don't know. I know that people do have future vision, so it really could be either or nothing, or you could be just making it up. But there's also a reason to believe that Padre Pio's prophecy of the 3 days of darkness is fake. And yeah, so this is the full text of it. If you want to go read it, you can. In the end, it's basically like I described, but it's fun to read these things sometimes and really get into it and wonder, like, what would it be like? And if you know it well enough and you can see it coming, maybe you can help yourself, whatever. I totally get that. I love prophecy for that reason, and I play with it all the time because of that reason. But that was, oh God. There we go. Can we see that? Let's make me up here for a minute. So the next person who also prophesies 3 days of darkness is this Anna Maria. So I guess I skipped the page. I had a page pulled up that talked about how Padre Pio, just to jump back to it really quick, this letter was compared to like every other letter he ever wrote, and the word choice was different and the handwriting was different, and so they say it could be a fake. Again, I will point out that people who claim to be channeling something or who are actually channeling something often speak in a different voice, write in a different hand, use different words, sometimes even different languages. So if he's genuinely being given this vision and whatever, that could also explain that. So you have to like use your own judgment and decide, is it for real, is it not? I don't know, but there's one person saying that there's going to be a time of 3 days of darkness. Here again we have Anna Marie Taigi, and she also talks about the 3 days of darkness. See what's up to the chat. Gordon Hamill jumped in and slapped a howdy on us. What's up, Gordon? Smiling Knight asked, do we remember the Comet Atlas that went back in May or June of this year? I do not remember, but that is not surprising, and I bet people listening remember. Love it. Matt Feinberg. Girlfriend just painted a picture of a volcano, and Emily Atwood, who just was on a show a few days ago, mentioned natural disasters. Yeah, natural disasters were like a theme of that episode. Very interesting. Good point. and horror. Good point. Oh, what? And Lindsay Smith also had something with her kids' projects today that had to do with the number 11 and volcanoes. Very interesting. What's up? 100 Days at a Time is also here. And I'll just point out that right now we have 22 people watching live. So 22 people on the 22nd. Whoop, whoop. Anyway, 3 Days of Darkness as testified by Anna Marie. And by the way, I could have pointed out before we began this that the Old Testament and the New Testament both talk about this time of tribulation, and 3 Days of Darkness is also mentioned in the Bible. It is not gone into great detail. It is just a thing that is mentioned that will happen in those end times. So it's also interesting to note that if there were 3 Days of Darkness coming, ever, that it would fit in with many prophecies that we would be then therefore in like whatever you want to think of as the end times. Maybe it's just the transition times. Maybe it's the beginning times. I don't know. But that they would align very well. Blessed Anna Marie, a housewife, 7 children in Rome. Interesting that you had 7 children in Rome. Rome of the 7 hills. From the age of 24, she would have a mystical son or a supernatural orb-shaped light appear before her. So this is very common in so many traditions to see or experience orbs of light. And these orbs of light have consciousness, and they often will communicate and share ideas and information with people who can see them or who they come to or whatever. So all kinds of, and you could even argue that things like will-o'-the-wisps and those types of things are versions of this same phenomenon. So this is a pretty widespread occurrence, actually. Anna Marie isn't that special in the end. She is. I'm just saying, like, this happens to a lot of people in a lot of different traditions. So this orb allowed her to, it says, see states of consciences. This is not a very good way to say it, but you understand what she says. It's interesting that it says it allowed her to see revolutions, wars, the aims of secret societies, the rewards of the good, and the punishments of the bad. Many people who are given these sorts of experiences or have these sorts of experiences see the exact same things and are told of the exact same things. So it's really interesting, these lights, you know, whatever those are, those little orbs. I'm sure some could not have like the best intentions, but it seems like they're often trying to warn people and help them understand things better, which again would also change timelines perhaps. All of these things are so complicated. 100 Days at a Time, you can come back to it. We'll sum it up in the end. You could just skip to the end. But you miss all the fun if you do that. The mystical globe showed Anna future events and all kinds of things. So kings, nobles, bishops, popes, they all came and consulted her. She actually did predict with accuracy the abdication of Charles IV, the King of Spain, the fall of Napoleon, the date of the liberation of Pope Pius VII, the assassination of the Father General of the Trinitarian Order, which she was a member of. Dude, now I want to find out what the Trinitarian Order is. Sorry, side note. Let's just find that out real quick. Trinitarian Order. The Trinitarians. I've never heard of this. What? Of the captives. The Order of the Most Holy Trinity and of the captives. What does it mean? We have Jesus holding some people by the arm. Right hand and left hand. His legs are crossed. It says Trinitatis et Captivorum. The Trinity is captive. Signum Ordinis Sancti. It's like a divine order, a sanctimonious order. Not sanctimonious. A sacred order. Since the order was founded in the year 1198 to ransom Christian captives. Oh, okay. Well, that explains the captives part. I was like, what are they, like pro-slavers? This is weird. No, they want to free people. Okay, that makes a lot more sense why he's holding on to like chained men. Priests, brothers, sisters, and the lay people have dedicated themselves to the works of mercy and redemption. Oh, my face is still up in the corner. There we go. They have special concern for those who suffer persecution for their faith in Christ. Very interesting. Okay. Sorry for that side note. Going back to Anna Marie. Anna Marie, she also knew, it already said that, she knew about the time and death of Napoleon. She announced a terrible plague that would break forth in Rome. She foretold the death of the Tsar Alexander, etc. So she had a pretty accurate, source. That's pretty cool. Pretty rare. During the last 25 years of her life, they recorded her prophecies in ecstasy. That's what they called it when you're just like raptured by this force. You're like taken over. It's like with the word for channeling now. I love that things like that used to be like, so much more revered, I want to say. And now, for the most part, we just laugh at people like that. Or, mock them and dismiss them. But to be fair, a lot of them actually are faking. But there are some very real ones and very real skills. They're just not as common as the amount of people who claim it. Anyway, Pope Benedict the 15th placed Anna Marie among the blessed. All right, so she also predicted during the end times, or the great chastisement. It's like the great, like God wagging his finger at us. I don't really see it that way, but it's funny. Continuing disorder in the church. There'd be revolution. She says things would be so convulsed that man couldn't put things back in order. Heaven would have to come in and do the judgment of nations. It would occur long after the holy people of her epoch had been buried, so far, far in the future. Many millions of men will die by steel, some in wars, others in conflicts, and millions more by unforeseen death. And this throughout the whole world. So you could argue that happened since 1190 or whenever, or that it's still coming, or that it has been subverted in some way. She does say that God wanted to purge and scourge the world. Purge and scourge, baby. But here we go, that she also describes 3 days of darkness. And she saw the 3 days of darkness in that little orb. She says, and this is where it is a little bit different from Padre Pio, at least, in that she says it definitely will come over the whole earth. An intense darkness lasting 3 days and 3 nights. Nothing will be able to be seen. The air will be laden with pestilence, which will claim I think they mean many, but not only, mainly, but not only the enemies of religion. Wow. Wouldn't that be amazing if it just got dark everywhere and just the enemies of like whatever is good, true, and beautiful, or, whatever you want to like replace the word religion with whatever you think is like God or the source, or the enemies of that just died. It'd be so convenient. It will be impossible to use any man-made light during this darkness, except blessed candles. Wow. So that's also similar to what Padre Pio said. He said you have to have candles that are blessed, and you have to do that in order to have any light at all. Regular candles, not going to cut it. You got to have blessed candles. So let's put that on our list of things to bless. Bless our candles. I'm just saying, if you bless your food and your water, which I do, like, why not bless your candles? I might be seeming like I'm saying that casually, but I'm not. I'm saying, like, we should actually bless candles. There's no harm in it, At the very least, you have this, like, burning light in your home that's, like, even more sacred and gives off even more positive energy, which is fantastic. All right, so Anna Marie also said, just like Padre Pio, if you look out of your window or if you leave your home, you will fall dead. If you even look out. I mean, that's a trip. Like, what would that be? That if you looked out, you would die. Anyway, during these 3 days, people should remain in their homes, pray the Holy Rosary. So very similar to Padre Pio there. Almost seems like maybe he copied her. Who knows? But after the 3 days of darkness, all the saints, Peter and Paul, they'd come down, they'll preach in the world, there'd be a new pope, a great light will flash forth from bodies and settle on the new pontiff or whatever, and it'll be lots of good stuff that happens afterwards. So very similar to any end times prophecy. After the bad stuff comes just like immeasurable goodness. Again, it'd be super, super convenient. Super, like, how cool would it be if just everyone evil just died and everyone good was just like, yeah, we're still here and everything's way better now. Like, I would be so happy. But you know, the scary part would be if all electricity went out, kind of like an EMP bomb, or like the grid going out, possibly because it's planned by the people who planned the pandemic, who are talking about grid outages, and, you know, that could happen too. So who knows? It could be a combination of so many things going on at once. But yeah, this also talks about, there was something on this page that I really liked. Let me just find it. Oh, it just talks about the things that are going to happen kind of before the 3 days of darkness. And then as you get closer and closer, so if you wanted to try and judge whether or not it was there or coming, you know, you could check. So if we look really quick, it's like the flouting of church laws, definitely happening all over the world. If you go by like actual church ideas of how people should act, it's definitely not what's happening. Or it is what's happening. They are flouting these laws. There's a lack of charity towards others. I mean, you and I, we don't have that. We're very charitable people and we love one another and support each other. But in general, in our society, there's definitely a lack of charity and support for people, especially of like an emotional or spiritual nature. The breakdown of family life. Absolutely. I like that they have to like point out their version of what that looks like. Whatever. But definitely you can't really argue that the breakdown of family life has happened. There's a lot of families without any sort of structure, definitely not multi-generational any longer, and just kind of lacking in any idea of what a family is even for. And that is intentional. Families are actually really positive structures for people to be able to, you know, really feel safe and supported. And we don't have that. That's why we have each other for family now. And hopefully our families as well. But, you know, it's just definitely broken down. Civil commotions, contempt for authority, the downfall of governments, confusion in high places, corruption. Like, yes, all that's happening too. And finally, floods, droughts, crop failures, unusual weather, tornadoes, earthquakes, tidal waves, famines, epidemics, and unknown diseases. Absolutely happening too. Could we have said this over like the past many decades? Yes. So does it really mean that it's soon if it is going to happen? Not necessarily, but it also could mean that it's soon because all those things are true if you're going to go off these prophecies. Yeah, and so there's also, you know, people who really, really believe this point out that it's going to be a supernatural occurrence. It's not man-made. It's specifically from, you know, God or heaven or whatever, and it is especially in the Christian viewpoint to punish, which again, I'm not. My experiences of God have nothing to do with punishment. So this is their point of view on it. So, you know, they point out that in Revelations, of whoever this is, Marie Julie Jehane, I don't know if this is part of the, what's it called when it's outside of the Bible? Not the canon. The apocryphal texts. I don't know if that's something from there or if he's just quoting someone who wrote a book about it. I don't know. But Jesus said in one of these texts, I forewarn you that a day will be found and it is already appointed. Gary Wayne talks about this a lot. He's like, this has all been planned out and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of like, when will it happen? We don't know. We can't know. We just know that what has to happen before and what will happen and then what will happen afterwards. What they say, when there will be little sun, few stars, and no light to take a step outside of your homes, the refuges of my people. So he also points out the days will be beginning to increase, which would be around the solstice. The solstice happens, and then, you know, we've been getting less and less light each day and longer night, and then the solstice happens, and then we actually have a pause, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. And then the days start to get longer. So there is some idea It has been said in multiple places that if there were going to be a 3 days of darkness based on many texts, it would be around that time of a year, which is interesting for many reasons. And we'll talk about that too. He says it will not be at the height of summer during the longer days, but when the days are shorter, will not be at the end of the year, but during the first months of the year, that I will give my clear warnings. Okay, and then there's all kinds of ideas about like when the year starts and doesn't. But according to this, it could be around the solstice or after it in the very beginning of the new year, based on that calendar that we use right now. And then there's immediate signs that will happen right before. There'll be wars, revolutions, and other evils that will originate on Earth, and then some from heaven. Some will be coming over the whole Earth in intense darkness lasting 3 days and 3 nights. Nothing can be seen. The air will be laden with pestilence. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, we just read that because that was Anna Marie. Sorry. I thought there was another part where it told us a list of upcoming things. Well, I guess I was wrong. All right, so anyways, there's some more point of view on the possible 3 days of darkness and the prophecies surrounding it. Let's check in with the chat. The Trinity, the Tartarians. The Trinitarians and the Tartarians should definitely have a tea party. But yeah, no, not the Tartarians. Oh, I love that theory. I love Tartaria. There's so much to it. It's so amazing. We've done a couple episodes on it on Rogueways. If you want to go watch them, if you haven't seen them before, they're pretty rad. I might do another dive into it someday. Truman, what's up? Truman says, thoughts on these prophecies being mud flood or MCO related? Yeah, it could definitely be EMP and definitely be planned. Although if you're going to come again from like the Christian traditionalist point of view, you would say maybe some of those things would help like make it even more chaotic, but the main event would be like fully just God. It'd be supernatural, you know. And then mud flood related, I mean, if this were a natural Great Reset, so to speak, like not the Great Reset where they're just trying to restructure all of society and the way we function from like the top down, but actual Great Reset and like, you know, they're going to kill off all of the evil people somehow by supernatural pestilence and whatever, and they all die and all that's left is good people. That'd be like a, I guess it's still not natural. Okay, we'll just say supernatural Great Reset. Could there then also be like mud flood stuff that happens to like really get society back to like ground zero and try to like do better next time? I don't know. Like, I have no indication of that, and I have no reason to really think that, except that it seems to have happened before. But even if you want to go from like a traditionalist Christian viewpoint, you would see that God had said that he would not punish humans or end the world in the same way that he did before. So even if it's like a cyclical thing that like brings destruction and society gets reset, it's supposedly going to happen in a new way. Who knows? Who knows? All I know is what I'm doing and stuff. Arl Gill says dark matter and an alien invasion. It would be wild if a bunch of dark matter if we just like flew through a dark matter cloud in space. Like, man, that would be crazy. I don't know how staying in your house and burning candles that were blessed would help, but it's better than nothing. What's up, Sergio? Nice to see you. Spectra C is in the house as well. Yeah, solar flare. Definitely could be a solar flare. What's up? My friend Alan in the house as well. Mahadharma Paula. Go check out his channel. Dude, he just did the raddest episode. It was actually a little while ago, but it was, I don't remember. Maybe you can want to tell us about it, Alan. You can type it in there and we'll see. But I would love for people to go watch it. I loved it. They do, Alan does ghost hunting sometimes, and they went to a cemetery and they had this interaction with the spirits there that was very touching. But yeah. Oh, Smiling Knight says he started having most intense lucid dreams and astral projections once the pandemic started. The plandemic started. Interesting. Very interesting. Been doing a lot of dream work myself. The insanely good online bingo player, says Terrence McKenna, Time Wave Zero. I actually wrote a preces of the book Invisible Landscapes by Terrence McKenna, which has to do with the Time Wave Zero. I think it's actually the book in which he unveiled Time Wave Zero. And if not, then it's the book in which he expands upon it and understands it more deeply or something. And I wrote a preces, a summary of that entire book in poetic form, and it's on my site. And it's called The Shamanic Doorway. And that theory is pretty wild, and I've been waiting for Time Wave Zero. It supposedly already happened, but definitely, obviously, it hasn't. But if it's coming, we'll see, right? We will see. Yeah, I also am dismally sad about how few stars we can see in the sky, Jeremy. I feel bad for generations that come after us that won't even understand that you could, like, look up and literally see just, like, infinite sparkling lights in the sky, and there was so much depth to it. And I don't know if you remember this. I didn't remember until I went to Utah and went stargazing. But when I was a kid, I looked at the sky all the time. I looked at the Milky Way all the time, and I would look at it for a lot, you know, out with my mom and picnic table, like looking up at the sky, and it was a pastime of mine. I loved it. But I did not remember until I went to Utah a handful of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And we went out, and Utah, if you don't know, has the Dark Skies Initiative. It's actually really cool because you can go out into many places in Utah and really, really deeply see the night sky because they have so little light pollution, and you're so far up in, you know, elevation as well. And the Milky Way is purple and green, and it's not just white and stars. In my mind, it was like white and yellow, and I was there, and I was like tripping out because I was just staring up at the Milky Way, and I was like, holy shit. There was no moon in the sky too. It was very lucky. It was just a very lucky trip in general, but it was a super lucky night to be stargazing and just like, there's purple and green. It is purple and green. I didn't know. I forgot. Anyways, it's amazing. And people might never know that again. There's places in the world where people don't even know that. They don't even see the Milky Way. Okay, I'll get off of it, but it's pretty amazing. They're there. They're there. We just can't see them. Don't worry, RL Gale. This is a bright winter. This sounds like doom and gloom, but we're not buying into this. We're just looking at the various viewpoints of these 3 days of darkness, and we're always pulling it back to the bright. We never leave you wanting. Bright winter supernatural reset. That's right, Matt. Exactly. Yes. Yes, exactly. What's up, Abe Williams from Kentucky? Nice to see you. What did I miss? Let them summarize for you. Yeah, it's sad. Even if you do, as Jeremy Harbin is saying, go out into the deep country and, you know, it's clear night and everything, you still can't see like you used to see. There's pollution, there's who knows what, light pollution, and whatever crap is up in the sky. The Independent is here. You see FBI planes. How do you know if a plane is an FBI plane? All right, this article is talking about the 3 days of darkness being in 2020 specifically, and whether or not that is nonsense or true. So we just went through what it was. They're just saying what it is. I do like that they have these pure beeswax candles that you can buy for the 3 days of darkness, like way to capitalize on our fear. It's very sweet, though. They want us to have our blessed candles. I think this is the one where later on it's like, by the way, you still have to get these blessed. Anyway, so in 2020, it points out, obviously things have been turned upside down by the fake flu cold that's going around. It's more than anything an infection of the mind that makes people scared of nothing. It makes people wrap their face in diapers. All right. And it brings to mind the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness. I don't know why. I don't know why they're making this leap, but they're saying, you know, I guess like some of those things we read that are signs that the 3 days of darkness is coming are true, and there's all this craziness and whatever, so blah, blah, blah. Get your beeswax candles, they say. Great tribulation, the rapture, etc. I love how hard they're pushing these candles. So yeah, in Exodus, it points out is another mention of the 3 days of darkness. darkness upon the lands of Egypt specifically for 3 days. So there's another reference to 3 days of darkness. It's actually a like somewhat common theme, strangely, and we will talk about why that might be. Darkness covers the earth. Everyone has to stay inside. The wind will have poisonous gas. It would be a convenient time for aliens to come just take so many people because they're like, haha, you have no electricity. We're blocking out the sun and the moon. There's poisonous gas everywhere. We swear to God, you can't even look outside. And look, all the evil people are gone. Like, that'd be hilarious. Like, well played, aliens. Nice job. I don't know. That'd be crazy. God's going to take care of his sheep, though, so don't worry. And then it talks about Marie Julie. Oh, this is the person who we read a quote from the previous page. This is yet another person who also prophesied about the 3 days of darkness and had a vision about it. She would go into convulsions and start quoting things and speaking and, you know, not somewhat like Edgar Cayce. I don't think he convulsed, but, you know, the same sort of, you like lose your own consciousness and start speaking. Then they go over Anna Marie, which we already covered. Padre Pio, we already covered that. So all these people goes through the same signs that we talked about of how, you know, all these things are breaking down and whatever. One of the new ones it mentions is that the Pope would flee Rome and World War III would start. So those definitely haven't started yet, as far as I know. Although, I will admit, lots of people are saying World War III is this, you know, whatever they're calling it, like uncommon tactics. That's not what people are calling it, but you probably know what I mean. You know, the methods that haven't necessarily been used in traditional wars before, and that most of it, and this is just true in general anyway, but most warfare now is really psychological operations more than anything. And so if you look at the global situation right now in that lens, you could wonder if we are in the midst of World War III and it's just not a traditional war and there's not bullets flying and planes dropping bombs, but there are real like battles going on various fronts of economy and society and, you know, structures and power. So it could be. Did the Pope flee Rome, though? Not that I know of. I guess I don't, like, really keep up on it too much. Could have happened. Let me know if you think it did. And, you know, then again, it talks about the good things that happen after the 3 days of darkness passes. So again, it points out that another prophecy talks about how the days will be getting longer, and that points out that it might be close to the solstice. Immediately before the days of darkness, it says the rapture will happen. So again, I love the idea that, like, I actually saw this show sometime when I was a teenager and I didn't know anything about any of these prophecies. And I didn't know it was a fake show. It looked like real news and it was like on cable and I never had cable before, like whatever. There was a lot of reasons why it tricked me. But it was like thousands of people around the world have just disappeared and we think it's alien abduction. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. And then it like went to commercial and was like, we'll return to the movie. But I was like, oh, I was like, I feel dumb. But I'm like, that could be a weird way to describe alien abduction. Again, I don't personally believe that there are flesh and blood aliens in ships flying around. I believe there's something else going on and that it's a more interdimensional or, you know, spiritual nature than that. But I don't doubt that it's possible. I don't pretend to know for sure. Anyway, no lights will work, and that's why you need their beeswax candles. Then there'll be the era of peace. It'll be great. What does the Catholic Church think about it? They say that it's figurative and metaphorical. And you can buy beeswax candles. So they don't actually ever tell you whether they think it's bullshit or not, and they don't really explain why they even tie it to 2020 at all. Really, they don't ever explain that. So again, a lot of people have actually, it's been all year that people have been mentioning the 3 days of darkness in connection with 2020 specifically, but no one has explained why. Here's the sun, as in the paper, to tell us why. This person says the world will end just days before Christmas. It's the end of days, according to the Mayan calendar. I thought we were done with the Mayan calendar. We're not. It's still here. So a Christian televangelist has predicted that the world will come to an end before Christmas this year. Pastor Paul Begley believes doomsday will strike on December 21st, 2020, which also happens to be his birthday. So this is the first time we get any kind of explanation why it might be associated with 2020 at all. And it's this guy's prediction. Come on, really, he just wanted to let people know when his birthday was, let's be honest. And as the Sun points out, hundreds of prophecies over the centuries predicted the end of the world, and none have ever come true, depending on how you look at it, because the end of your world might happen in a very different way than the end of other people's world. Who knows? Nostradamus predicted it. Conspiracy theorists thought it was going to be on June 21st of this year because of the Mayan calendar. So it's just hilarious that nobody knows how to interpret the Mayan calendar, or that there's just various ways to interpret it. Fair enough. Who knows when it's going to be? It wasn't 2012, apparently. Jean Dixon, one of the U.S.'s most prominent self-proclaimed astrologers and psychics, also predicted that Armageddon would be in 2020. Running out of time here. It's got to happen soon. Mayan elders did say that June 21st of this year could have been the end of the world, but they might have made a mistake. And they obviously made a mistake on the 21st, December 21st, 2012. So maybe it's December 21st, 2020. Again, there's no real reason why, except that we're coming up on this great conjunction. This is an actual thing that's demonstrably happening. No matter what you think planets are, this is happening. But the thing we call Jupiter and the thing we call Saturn are going to come within 0.1 degrees of one another in the night sky, which will create the brightest star in the sky since the Star of Bethlehem. So now you start to understand why somebody might associate this with especially Judeo-Christian traditions and say like, oh, maybe this is significant. And then we will like look into what Jupiter and Saturn mean and like the timing of December 21st specifically. And there's so much to it, so we'll get to that. This hasn't happened since 1623 that Jupiter and Saturn have been this close, and it won't come that close again for another 500 years. Something I read was saying that they do a conjunction every 20 years, but just how close they are in our point of view in the sky is part of what makes this significant and rare. So we're going to be able to see this hugely bright star in the sky, apparently, on that night, and probably leading up to it. We might even be able to see hints of it coming up soon. I'm not sure. So that is kind of crazy. It's pretty weird, actually. And 2020 has been pretty weird. And we've been looking forward to this conjunction all year, and we've been knowing it's going to happen. And here it is coming up pretty soon. The blood moon lunar eclipse, he also is pointed to as one of the signs of the apocalypse. That's also something that's mentioned in Revelations. And in a way, you could take it that way, right? It's one of those things that you could take in many ways, probably. Like literally everything that exists. so you can get your beeswax candles, but you can't be sure that you're going to burn them. Anyway, so this is coming. That conjunction is actually coming. Does it have to do with the Mayan calendar? I don't know if there's a way we can know at this point, if it's been this many years that people have been talking about the Mayan calendar. And we still don't know when it ends. And even though it ends, we know it's just like the end of a cycle and the start of a new cycle. So it's still not like the end of the world. But anyway, we don't know. It could be. It could be exactly what the Mayan calendar was talking about. Who knows? So Dark Star Astrology is talking about this Jupiter conjunction with Saturn that's coming up. Is it boom or is it doom? You could look at it a couple different ways, right? Just like, again, everything in the world. So many ways to look at a thing. What are you guys talking about? By the way, let's check in with the chat. Asymmetrical warfare. Thank you, Independent. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Some days I just don't have my words as clearly. Yeah, or we had this big conversation about the FBI planes. I know there's apps where you can see like who owns which planes and what's going on, but planes flying at night. I mean, regular planes fly at night. Yeah, the ones that just circle are weird. It's a fun app. I have a friend, Brian, who looks into that all the time, and there's some pretty wacky shit that goes on that you can see in this app. So it's a fun thing to look at if it's not something that's gonna like drive you insane, you know, because there's weird shit going on up there. You can't get too attached to it. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I would suggest not getting too attached to it. Yeah, weird planes fly over, and you know, there's a lot of things that I'm gonna pretend to be planes and are not planes, so that happens too. Beeswax candles are good. And ear candles are good too. I actually loved ear candles my whole life until I saw someone burn one not in an ear and show that that exact same shit that you thought was earwax coming out of your ear happens no matter where you burn it. And I was like, fuck ear candles. I feel betrayed. So I don't use ear candles anymore. So I don't know. I should probably try it myself and see, but I saw a video on it. I was like, okay, fine, I've been had. I'm not going to be the bitch of any alien. I'm not putting that out there, but if Independent, if you want to say that we have no chance against aliens and that we would be their bitches, you are welcome to say that. I'm never going to agree with you. I understand what you're saying. I just don't agree. Because again, if aliens were flesh and blood and ships and had this vastly more technology than us and wanted to come do that, maybe I could agree with you, but I don't believe that's what they are. And so I think we actually have tons of options to keep from being their bitches. Ha, Eccentric asked what I think about the conjunction of Saturn or Jupiter. It's exactly where I was going. Now you know. Well, you're going to find out. Are we entering or leaving the Age of Aquarius? We have 750 years until the Age of Aquarius starts. That is finally the answer that I have come to, based on actual astrology. That was back in the episode with Athen Commenti, if you want to go watch it, and he calculates it for us and tells us that it's 752 years away, actually, if I remember correctly. So I guess we're entering. It's a long, slow entrance. December 21st is the exact moment of the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. Yes. What's up, Cymatics1? Have I correlated it with 3 Days of Darkness? Yeah, stop spoiling the show, Cymatics. Just joking. Anybody who's watched Zeitgeist and other things understands that. But yes, we are going to talk about that. You're not ruining the show at all. It was literally, seriously, just a joke. You're just a good student. Amazon has 2-day beeswax candles, by the way. We need 3-day, though. We need 3-day candles. Come on. Thank you. 100 days at a time. Yes, Eccentric points out, it doesn't really matter what we believe about astrology. The people who run this world, who seem to run this world, definitely seem to act in accordance with astrology. So it's very interesting that this alignment is coming up and that they do seem to be planning grid outages, and perhaps we can imagine a toxic kind of gas that would kill you if you were breathing it in. Why wouldn't you be able to look outside? I still wouldn't know, but maybe some of these prophecies have some good advice for us. I don't know. But I do like that Jenny B points out that we could have a vibe shift either way when we're going into 2021, and that is exactly what I'm all about, Jenny B. We're going to bright winter this all the way through. No darkness can hold us back. So now it's the age of whatever is preceding Aquarius in the backwards movement. And I don't remember myself with that. Yeah, I think Pisces is right. We're in the age of Pisces. Oh, Chris Ann's in the house. Chris Ann has a 3 Days of Darkness candle. Really? From a religious site. I want one now. I'm going to add it to my birthday wish list. Yes. Okay, so let's move on. Sorry, I like to chat with you guys. You know me. All right, so Jupiter conjunction with Saturn will take place on December 21st, 2020. What timing? This is a big deal. What makes this extra special is that Jupiter conjunction Saturn takes place on the exact day for the winter solstice. Again, the day changes from year to year. It has to do with the galactic ecliptic and when we're passing through, when the sun's passing through, when the Earth and all these alignments are taking place that are outside of Earth. So that's something, that's objective, and it happens at a specific time. And it just so happens to be happening on the exact same day of this conjunction. It's also at literally the sun's lowest, darkest point of the year. So it's the lowest solar energy of the year. Remember, the sun, no matter what you think it is, no matter what we think of it, the sun is the source of all life on Earth. There is no way around that. So if you want to think of it as the source, or like God, or some very advanced, wise, like source of wisdom or intelligence, or a very high level consciousness, these are all the sorts of things that go along with at least the symbolism of the sun, and maybe just literally what's going on with the sun, right? So that is at its lowest energy at any point of the year in this moment that we're having Saturn and Jupiter come together in conjunct. So that's why it's interesting. Again, this hasn't happened for many hundreds of years, and it won't happen again for many hundreds of years. All right. So as they point out, yes, the light begins to grow. It does. People keep saying from that moment it does. It's not true. There's actually 3 days of pause where the sun doesn't actually move at all. And then the light starts to grow again. So the sun is at its lowest, darkest point, like as though the sun were dying. And then it stays that way for 3 days before it is reborn. And now you start to remember why a lot of people look at this and realize that the story of Jesus and many other similar types of beings through history are really like astrotheological symbols or metaphors that are just describing what happens in the astrological world. Given that the elites are obsessed with astrology and stuff, that doesn't make it less powerful or important. It's just very interesting to note. Okay, so the Son of God died for 3 days and then rose again. Okay, I'll stop. But the good news is the light will return. It'll grow more and more and more. All right, and this is really important too. The solstice symbolism is even more poignant when we consider the meaning of the historical conjunction, which we'll get to, and the fact that it takes place at point 0 of Aquarius. So maybe that's what people meant by the Age of Aquarius. Maybe it's not the fact that we will actually be in the age of actual Aquarius, where the sun will be rising on the vernal equinox in the sign of Aquarius in 752 years from now. Maybe they meant this conjunction would happen at point 0 of Aquarius. Probably not. That's a stretch, but Aquarius comes into it at the very least. All right. So this person, this astrologer at darkstarastrology.com says, Jupiter conjunction with Saturn should be the great leveler. Jupiter expands while Saturn contracts. That's a really simplistic way of putting it. Jupiter is like often associated with that jovial. Jovial literally comes from the Latin word for Jupiter. Like happy, expansive, like joyful and good and like giving and generous and all of these things. And Saturn has to do with like structure, and contraction is not a bad way to put it, but structure and systems and, sternness. I really like this because people often look at Saturn in a very negative way. But I like the idea that Saturn is sort of like the stern coach that's like, well, you need to do all your hurdles and you need to jog every day and you need to do all this. But then when you get to the race, you like nail it because you had all that structure. So Saturn is like rewarding for people who can plan and use structure and all of that. And Jupiter's a lot more like, hey, let's like sit at the feast and relax and tell jokes and stuff. But it's also like the big picture, the broad picture. They both have pretty big pictures though, and they're both very large planets. What do you know? Anyway, Jupiter is a so-called greater benefic, while Saturn is a greater malefic. So again, Jupiter gets this good name. It gets to be beneficial, and Saturn gets to be maleficent and negative and harmful. But really, There's nothing harmful about structure, systems in and of themselves. And too much, of just like kind of joking and loving and giving and stuff can also be bad. Balance is really good though. And it's interesting, they're saying this is the great leveler. Maybe it's just a really great balance point. I love the middle path myself, as you know, so who knows? Here we find a battle of good versus evil. Again, I just don't really agree with it. And as far as I know, astrologers like Athen Commenti don't really either. Again, they're looking at like the characteristics in a neutral way. One's not good or evil. They're just two different things, you know? It's just like saying fire is evil and water is good. It's like you can still drown, and without fire you can't cook food. So like they're both good and they're both bad in different ways at different times. It's just the when you have it and the balance of it and how you apply it, right? That's how I take it. Of course, we have seen that played out on the world stage in recent events, with each one being more polarized than the last. Brexit, Trump, Hillary, black versus white, mask wearing versus non-wearing, Biden versus Trump, etc. Of course, Jupiter is supposed to be the god of all gods, while Saturn is Satan. But with this conjunction, it points out, we don't have an opposition. Therefore, ideally, we should be blending the best of the two rather than continually polarizing each side. Again, Athen Commenti, who I really like, and I like his interpretations. I think he's very fair, balanced, and well-studied. And he does sidereal astrology. Then he has a similar sort of idea that it's, somewhat almost like canceling each other out or like bringing things into a nice balance, which would be really good for all of us at this point. Kind of sick of the like vast division and polarization. But all right. So this person's first instinct about this conjunction was that it had some kind of messianic quality. At best, this should make for a very level-headed leader. However, you mustn't forget that Saturn overpowers Jupiter while he's in Aquarius, because Aquarius, I guess, is Saturn's associated sign. So Saturn actually has a bit of a, it's like the home court advantage for Saturn. So it's not going to play out as the great messiah that some might have been hoping for. After his findings, he's seen it's a little bit more tricky than he saw at first. Or she. I'm sexist. I don't know who this person is. Not only that, but I found out that the chart of the Antichrist has both these planets in Aquarius, but not in conjunction. So who knows? So they looked at how both Jupiter and Saturn fared in Aquarius's first degree there, since the effects will be felt mostly while in that first degree. So Jupiter in Aquarius 1 says real or pretended religious zeal. That's not necessarily comforting. Again, Jupiter's supposed to be like good, but I don't know, zeal is never really that great. Hypocrisy, not so good. Trouble through legal and church matters and with relatives. Oh, it's sounding worse and worse. Disappointment over inheritance, and to have the courage of one's convictions, success through bold action, and a focus on the military. I don't know, having courage through convictions isn't bad. Having bold action isn't always bad. It could be good. But anyway, it does emphasize the wild, the wacky, and the mysterious. It will have some diving headfirst into conspiracy. I mean, we do that anyway, so I'm sure it's just going to happen. The zealous edge can definitely go off the rails. That's always true if it's not sort of tempered somehow. But leaders who come about in power at this time will have a messianic aura about them. So it'll be very interesting if Trump does somehow, if the plan is to sort of flip this around and give it back to him, which would just rip people apart. We would get really radical zealotry on both sides. We'd have people on the Trump side being like, holy shit, he's God. And we'd have people on the other side who would be like, oh my God, he's Satan. And it'd just get really intense. And then we'd have all of us here in the middle being like, man, you guys really need to like get a grip and calm down, get grounded. And they're not gonna. So Saturn in this time is about sorrow and disappointment, mental disturbance, necessitating asylum or hospital treatment, and probably death there. Separation from family or parents, which was also in the other. Danger of accident involving inability to work or lifelong affliction. building and seeking honor in a daily life, the spiritual and our physical warriors striving to express themselves, the honoring of war heroes. Weirdly similar, even though they're supposed to be so different. So those things coming together at this time, it doesn't seem so great. The energies don't seem so great. The things that we can pull out of them that are good, or that we can turn good by our will, because we're not just mechanistic like gears in a cog or in a machine, right? We have will and we have our heart, and we're like connected to the divine. So we can choose how we take these energies and transmute them and how we apply them. There are tools, and that's what we're going to focus on. And so part of the things that we can focus on is trying to be as disconnected from the outcome of some of these things that might be going on around us, so that we can hold that space for other people to hopefully gain some objectivity as well, right? And the fact that we are not connected to it. But there's courage and convictions, right? When we know, like I know I'm not wearing a mask, I know I'm not taking a vaccine, I know that I don't really care like who says what is the law, I just care what's true in my heart. Those things are good things to have under us. And knowing that we have success through bold action is helpful, right? If we, there's times where it's better to sort of like step back and let things play out. And there's times where it's better to do something bold about it. And so we can keep those things in our heart. Courage of convictions and bold action, right? And then if we're looking at back to the Saturn again, we can definitely try to hold our mental and emotional and spiritual wellness at the highest priority, because this whole mental disturbance, asylum, and death is not a great energy to be dealing with. The sorrow and disappointment, all this separation from family and parents, right? Danger of accident and inability to work. This is all sounding very pandemic-like. And so we, knowing that that might sort of ramp up and be even more difficult to deal with, because it's the holidays and it's when we want to celebrate and join together and have community and love and whatever. We just really need to go into that with like the strongest mental, emotional, and spiritual health that we can. And that is part of where I have an offer for you at the end of this show that I hope that you take advantage of, because we could do that together. So, and building and seeking honor in daily life, that part's good. We can do that, right? That's our daily practice. That's like every day we can take really simple things that we do and find honor and dignity in those. And that builds our spiritual and physical warrior qualities, which is exactly what we want to do going into whatever brave future we have ahead of us. So we're going to focus on building and seeking honor in daily life and being spiritual warriors, at least in and of ourselves. All right. It does emphasize the heroic, flying high as the eagle. Some of us can definitely relate to that. Don't get bogged down by the lowbrow earthly temptations and distractions. That's going to be very, very important. During this time, seeking solitude and peace. Again, that's very important, so that we can hear the sound of our higher selves in God. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And acting in those ways brings divine protection. It's absolutely true. So we are going to aim for that here as rogue warriors. And we are going to make it happen for ourselves. And again, I have an offer for you coming up very shortly that I hope you'll take advantage of in order to support all of us in doing that. I'm so excited about it, actually. It's really, really exciting. So that is going to be the announcement. No, I'm not pregnant. Something on this page interested me. I feel like it was a little bit further down. It does say that Jupiter and Saturn conjunctions tends to lead to enormous success for nations that use that. So I hope they're not going to use it to try to pull off the one world thing, because that would be a bad thing to have enormous success. And sorry, I know that there was something on this page that I wanted to talk about, and I don't want to miss it. This page is also hard to navigate. Like, it's got a lot going on. Well, I guess I don't remember what it was. Weird. So many charts too. Okay, well, if I remember, we'll go back to it. But on to this, just to make it really clear if you didn't understand the whole thing about what's going on at the solstice and how it relates to not just the story of Jesus, but many, whatever you want to call those people, ascended masters or whatever, these stories that we have of these people who have got very high level spiritual achievements, let's say. Many of them have this symbolism or these same stories or like the same things going on. And again, Zeitgeist did a really good job of pointing it out. Lots of people who are Christian really hate this because, you know, it takes away from the idea that Jesus was a real person who was the actual Son of God and died for our sins. And I don't want to take away from that because I don't think it has to. And it's just a very interesting thing either way. Again, astrology seems to rule the world, so it's nice to look at. This is a really simple image of it here that you can see, where the three kings that came from the east would be Orion's belt, where Sirius would be the Star of Bethlehem, because it shines really brightly at this time of year. And that, you know, God's son, Jesus is the Son of God or God's son, and the Son is just God's son, dies at the winter solstice, actually. He dies on the cross. There's actually a constellation that's the Southern Cross, and it's right where the sun sets at this point or something. If I'm getting that wrong, I'm sorry, but it's somewhere near there, and something with that is going on, and so that's how he died on the cross. And then he stays there dead for 3 days because, like I said, the sun doesn't move or grow or do anything for 3 days. And then he rises again, and then he starts moving again. And it's like, oh, he's risen and whatever. So you can see how it translates to this astro-theological story. So yeah, there's actually in this 3 days of darkness. If you hadn't made that connection yet, we have 3 days of darkness every year, and we have those 3 days of darkness on the solstice every year. And Christmas happens, you know, the day that Jesus is born, right after that. You know, like I said, it's sometimes the 19th, sometimes it's the 22nd, whatever, but around then, by the 25th at the latest, the sun will be born again. And so we're celebrating the birth of the sun. This is also a tradition that goes back many thousands of years and all sorts of traditions around the world to celebrate that day. Because, you know, especially if you think when you're a human living like much more basically than this, you're going to be so happy that the sun's coming back. I'm so happy that when the sun comes back, and I'm not even, I have lights and, you know, heat and stuff. So yeah, we have those 3 days of darkness. So we're talked about all this 3 days of darkness, all these different interpretations of what the 3 days of darkness could be and when it's going to come and how badly it's going to go and everyone's going to die and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, maybe, you know, like there could be a lot of things that are 3 days of darkness, but 3 days of darkness does happen every year. So when people are like, oh, the 3 days of darkness is going to be in 2020, it's like, well, yeah, it is, because it is every year. And then people are like, no, like those 3 days of darkness are going to happen on the 3 days of darkness. And I'm like, that could be, it could happen that on the solstice this year, we actually not only have the 3 days of darkness that always happen where the sun stays still and doesn't continue its progression and doesn't increase in brightness or length or anything. And we could have like a total global grid outage with some sort of crazy toxic shit in the air and like people just dying left and right. That could totally happen. That'd be fucking insane. And it could totally happen. It's not beyond the possibility. So will it? Who knows? What we know no matter what is that during that time, this conjunction is going to be happening. And that is crazy in itself. We just read about like how rare it is. We read about how those are the two greatest astrological forces as far as astrology is concerned, besides the sun and the moon, maybe, in our sky. And so they're coming together in this way in this very rare time. They're the most powerful ones. They're like the biggest influences, and that's all happening at once. So we know that the elite are going to take advantage of this conjunction no matter what. I don't know how. Is it going to be global grid? I don't know. I don't even need to pretend to know because it doesn't matter. But I know that they are. So then I know I can't stop them, right? We talk about this all the time on the show. We can't stop them from doing whatever they're going to do, necessarily. Some people think you can, and you can try, and that's cool. I'm not against you. I don't think it's necessarily my job to try, but I can control myself. I can always control myself. And in controlling myself, I can always then choose to use this energy, like I said, in the best way possible. If we know this is coming, we can do this in the best way possible. So I also have a little story to tell. How long have we been going here, guys? 121. We got a little bit of time. So I when I was a little bit younger, I was probably like, I don't even know. I was probably like 16 or something. And was I 16 when the internet was alive? Yeah, I was. I think I was like 14 when the internet started. And by started, I mean when we first got internet, like in our school. But anyways, the internet was brand new, and I was like 14 or so. And I was just using it, like, again, for like some of the first times ever. But I don't know if you guys remember back then, if you were alive back then, and you remember when you went to, I don't even know if Google existed yet, web crawler, let's say, you went to Netscape and web crawler, Ask Jeeves or whatever the fuck, and you typed in whatever, the results were the same every single time. If you spelled it and put the words in the same order, the results you got were exactly the same every time. You go to any computer and do it, any time of day and do it, it would be exactly the same. Maybe a new page would come along sometimes and like be added to the mix, right? I don't know if you remember that, but that's what it was like. So, because it was before we manipulated search results and how it's bullshit. And during that time, I was searching randomly, and really weird shit happened to me a lot back then. If you've heard half of my stories, you know, like what a crazy time it was. But I was searching the internet, and I definitely did not search for 3 Days of Darkness because I didn't know what it was. I definitely did not search for like light worker or anything. Like I didn't, whatever I was searching for would be like 14-year-old stuff. It'd be like, where can I buy cigarettes? Or like, you know, what chat rooms are cool, or like something I was curious about at the world, you know, like, I don't know, what is Jupiter all about? Or so, like shit like that. So for whatever reason, this page popped up in my search results that had like nothing to do with anything. And I was like, what is that? That's really weird. So I clicked on it and I was like, huh. It was this very strange page, and it was different looking than any page I'd ever seen for whatever reason. I can't really describe it beyond that. And it spoke to you direct. It was second person. Not a lot of things were written in second person. But second person is as if you were reading something and it said, for example, you are walking down the street and you look up and you see a UFO in the sky, and then you look down and you see your shoes are brown. That's second person. And this was written in second person. And it was like, you have come to this page because it was written for you. And I was like, that's weird. I probably had never read second person before because it's rare. But also I was like, is this like really trying to talk to me and tell me that I'm special because I came to this page? My understanding of the internet might be like not that great, but that's not very normal. So I was reading it. I continued, and it was like, you may not believe it yet, but you came to this world to do a very specific thing. And it was like, you are one of the people who have come here as light workers, which again, I had never heard that word before, that term before. And I was like, what the hell is that? And it was like saying all this shit. I could not even tell you what it said. One of the things it said is like, throughout your life, you'll start to learn and grow, blah, blah, blah. And it like went on and on and on. And by now it's like, you know, 3 pages long, and I'm still reading. So I'm like, this is crazy and weird and fascinating. Like, what is this? And towards the end of the page, it said, your main goal that you will never forget, because it is essential that you remember, is that you will hold the light during the 3 days of darkness. You will help the world hold the light during the 3 days of darkness. And I was like, huh? That's what's 3 days of darkness? Like, I had never heard of that. And I was like, what is it even talking about? What would it even mean to hold the light? Like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, it like affected me so much that even way back then in my early days of the internet, I was like, I need to like copy and paste this and like show people, because I didn't understand that you could just like write down the address and find shit. And so I put it in some document. I saved it on like a floppy fucking disk and like stuck it in my bag or whatever. Like, it's like, that is weird. And then literally like later that day, if not maybe the next day, but very, very shortly after, I wrote down like the search terms I had used and everything, because that's how shit worked back then. So I was like, you guys gotta see this. This is so weird. And I like typed in the search words and I hit enter, and it did not come up in the list of results. And I like many pages in and it wasn't there. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like, okay, well, I have like this copy of it or whatever. And like, I couldn't find it. I was like, what the hell? And so this page just appeared randomly, even though as far as I could tell, it had nothing to do with what I had searched for. And then it disappeared just as quickly, never to be found again. I will tell you, years later, I actually found the file that I had copied and pasted, which I could somehow not find at the time, but did find years later, which is its own weird story and whatever, and reminded me of the whole thing. And I was like, well, that really did happen. That's fucking crazy. But I have also since talked to people when I tell this story who have had really similar experiences where they also were told in some way that it will be very important to keep the light alive during 3 days of darkness. So I share it with people from time to time. I know it sounds like a crazy person and like they're like, whatever. Just like if you told anybody about 3 days of darkness and they didn't already kind of know about it, they'd be like, okay, whatever. Like, what are you even talking about? Who cares? And I totally get that. And I'm not saying this is even the year to keep the 3 days of, keep the light during the 3 days of darkness. But every year during the 3 days of darkness, I do focus on whatever my version of keeping the light alive is, which is also just my goal in life. Keep the light alive. Like, duh. Who wouldn't want to do that? Whether it's 3 days of darkness or not. So if you're like, you know, what do you do then? What if there actually is 3 days of darkness coming up that isn't just the solstice and the sun not moving and that? What if there actually is like something else that's 3 days of darkness that's somewhat apocalyptic or terrifying? What should you do? Always the advice is the same, and always, you know, excuse me, drinking coconut water. Always your most important task is to serve your soul and your soul's purpose. And a lot of us don't do the greatest job of that. Like, it's really easy in the world to get caught up in all kinds of shit and just forget that, you know, you have a spiritual side and that you do want to grow it and love it and honor it and whatever. And so to do that, and especially even if you took away all this like 3 days of darkness shit and you just looked at the spiritual conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter while the sun's at its lowest point, and especially when it was talking about like not being able to be connected with your family and having sort of sorrow and maybe mental issues that would be highlighted during that time. And I mean, that's pretty dark for any of us to deal with all of that stuff. And so especially with that coming, you really want to shore up your spiritual and your emotional self. And it's way easier than you think. It's hard in the sense that emotions come up and like purifications come up and things come up to be dealt with when you get quiet and in touch. And like, that's not easy. And so sometimes we don't want to do that stuff. But a lot of times you also find like the greatest, like, I don't, solitude is not the right word. This is a day of not the right words. But, you know, that like quietness within yourself, that stillness that you're like, oh yeah, this peace, you know, and you feel that and you're like, holy shit, that's a good feeling. Like, man, I wish I could have that drug all the time. And you can, the more you get in touch with those things, but you remember that. Or like some like spiritual guidance will come and really flood you. And this is like a feeling of joy and ecstasy that you can experience when you're in those states as well. And that's an amazing feeling. And so lots of really good things come at the same time as we sometimes have these emotional things come up when we do get quiet. But all of us can get quiet and all of us can find different ways to do that. And so whatever your version of that is, there just might be something that you want to focus on over the next few weeks. We've got like a month or so until these times might come. Again, 3 days of darkness either way on that sort of sun's journey idea of things, but also the conjunction and maybe other things. And so we just want to focus on that in the meantime while we're on our way to that point. So that's really important. Being connected with other people who are good, true, and beautiful to us, that make us feel good, is always really important as well. And again, will be more and more important during these times. You might not be able to see family and friends as much, especially if they're caught up in the delusions that are going on, the mass delusions. And you might not be able to, hug them or whatever, but as much as you can be connected with people who you love, then that's a really important thing to do. And we're here for you. We got your back. And again, the special offer is coming up that might help with that too. But that's really important. That's another simple thing that anybody can do, is just be connected with people in a simple way. These things don't have to be like profoundly like, like some of the stories that you hear or whatever. Like, it's like the most mundane day-to-day things in the moments of our lives that actually are the things that matter and that become profound. And so to like really sink into those and be present is another thing that we can all do. Maybe you don't want to go outside during those 3 days. If shit seems crazy and it seems like it's the sort of like real 3 days of darkness, I'm probably not going outside, just because we've had so much warning not to. Unless something deep in my heart and soul tells me to, like, I'll probably stay in. So maybe you want to do that. I don't know. That's just a possibility. But that inner light, no matter how dark the darkness gets, like literally, no matter how dark it gets and no matter how much it might cloud around or whatever, there's literally nothing that can extinguish that inner light. So you have that no matter what. Period. It's easier to access it and remember that if you've been practicing, but it will never not be there. So, don't forget that. But let's just go back. Let's go back and look at a thing that's exciting, because this is just what I've been sort of drawn to do and offer. But first, I also want to read you this thing. I don't put these quotes up because I'm Christian. I'm very much not a traditional Christian, at least. I always say I'm a Christian, and that Christian means to be Christ-like. And if Christ is an energy or a person who exists, I definitely want to be like that. And so in that sense, I'm a Christian. But I'm not a Christian in any other traditional sense of the word at all. And but I like some of these quotes, and these ideas are really, really good. So this says to be firm. That's just it's a highly represented skill for most of us. Be firm, but warm perhaps, but be firm nonetheless. Have good boundaries. Keep shining your light as a beacon, right? Because it's not just you that you want to keep connected to the light during those 3 days of darkness, just like maybe I was tasked with at some point. You want to keep that light alive for everybody. You're a beacon if the darkness comes. Ignore the flies. Ignore those dark little bits that come buzzing around and try to grab your attention. Keep your light alive in the darkness. Be strong. A beacon in the night, an anchor in the storm. Believe. And so I would love to invite you, and will be so excited if you decide to come to the 3 days of brightness retreat, because no amount of darkness can stymie our light, as we said. And as we've been saying, it's actually a bright winter. We're taking any energies that come our way and we're making them bright, because it doesn't matter how much darkness tries to be dark. We're just bright. Our light extinguishes that darkness no matter what. It's not even a battle. It's just true. All we have to do is keep the light going. So if you want to come to this 3 days of brightness retreat, I would absolutely love to have you. It's really about, during those 3 days of darkness, just keeping connected and together and having community and fun. And the types of things that are going to happen over these 3 days, which are going to be on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. This is going to be a Zoom sort of event. And I mean, it's possible that I would use a different, but whatever, it'll be online. And we might do all kinds of things, but the whole goal is for it to be fun and possibly goofy and wacky like the show is, and like we all are in the chat, and not to take ourselves too seriously, but also be focused on the types of things that can increase our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual bodies, because that is an important aspect of keeping the light alive no matter what comes. And again, I'm not saying anything crazy is coming. I'm saying the energies that are aligning might be pretty powerful, and it'd be really good to stay connected in this way. And especially part of how this came about is because many of us won't be able to connect directly with people, and it is the holidays, and it is a time where it's really important to stay connected. So especially if you can't be connected with other people, this would be a really good opportunity for you to stay connected. So there are definitely going to be guest, let's say like teachers or guides who also come be a part of this, but mostly it will be led by me and a few other people. And many of them have been on the show. Many of them don't know yet that they're going to be a part of this, but they are pretty rad energy here. All of the best vibes. But we might do things like breathing exercises or just basic principles of energy and energy movement in our various bodies. I definitely would love to share with people if they don't already know, if you're not already able to see auras. I would love to teach you how you can do that, because that is a skill that everybody actually has. We could talk about how to know your guides, how to meet them, and how to work with them, how to understand them. We could do various different practices, whether it's for purifying, increasing our spiritual energy, how to bless our food and water if you're not already doing that, developing your intuition. There's a sort of spiritual guidance system that we have in our body that you can physically feel. And if you haven't yet developed that, that's a really, really good tool to have. And just other tools and tricks and tips for any sort of system or background or tradition that you're from. This is non-denominational. It's really meant to be for anybody who wants to just be connected in that way. And right now, if you are a supporter in rogue.locals.com, there is a coupon code in there for you to get, wait for it, 21% off of the price of this 3-day action-packed retreat of brightness. So that's almost a quarter off the price, and all you have to do is be a supporter. Supporters are as low as $2 a month. That's the lowest you can be a supporter at. So that's a pretty stinking good deal. So I highly suggest you take advantage of that. I am very, very excited to see who would love to come be a part of the 3 days of brightness. It is going to be amazing, and it's going to be so well timed because it's right when all those energies are really hitting us, and we can definitely get through that easier together. So super stoked about that. That is the big announcement that I wanted to share with y'all and make sure you knew about. So I'm super, super excited. I know I've said that like 10 times, but I'm just really excited. And it's a month away, and so I have to taper down my excitement and really like put a lid on it. But I hope that so many of you in the chat and in the community in general will come take advantage of this, because you guys are the community. You're the Rogue Warriors. You are the ones who make this happen. So I'm very, very excited, and it's a chance for all of us to get together again, like I said, and meet and interact more. You know, we've got rogue.locals.com where we can do that, and that's rad, but this is like a much more intimate setting in which we can share all kinds of things. So again, I'm super excited in that. We're going to have readings of various kind. There's probably going to be blessings. We're going to have teachings that are uncommonly found and presented with just like everything at Rogue, like a very down to earth. You know, there's no like, I just hate anything that's like, oh, we're so much better than you. Like, come and like we'll show you like the secrets. Like, none of that shit. Like, we're all just normal people here. But it's very important for normal people to understand and apply many of these things. So anyways, I'll try to stop talking about it, but I'm very excited about it. And I totally want to catch up with the chat. So, man, you guys are chatting up a storm. All the Rogue Warriors in the house are like, blah, 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 blah. I'm just trying to figure out like how far back I have to go. I don't know. I can't go back that far. Sorry. If you have something for me to really pay attention to, feel free to do a super chat, but I'll try to get to what I can. So Yeah. Snake Jones who knows, says, now is the time for all righteous men and women to tap into that sacred ability to be lethal, or at least to heal yourself. And, you know, I know what you're saying. I'm definitely not opposed to self-defense at all. Yeah. Oh, there's a strong network. I've since learned, since my youth, that there's a huge network of light, and it's amazing. And that's exactly why you have to build in yourself this ability to connect to that light, because you are always connected to it. But if you don't know that, and if you then therefore choose to like mentally, spiritually, or otherwise agree that you're not, then you've done that. So if you're connected to it, the more you're connected to it, the stronger you're connected to it, the more you've practiced connected to it, like that. It's just like, if you're in a dream and you're very used to something, then it's going to happen in your dream. So like when I quit smoking, I kept smoking in my dream for a really long time. It took years for my dream self to catch up to the fact that I had quit smoking. And it always disturbed me, and it was like annoying, And it's very similar to that. If you have like never practiced connecting, you're not connected, and some sort of maybe like dreamlike state occurs, then you might not connect as easily. I don't live in fear. I just reinforce the good practices where I can. I know, Chrisanne, if I could find that page again, it would be amazing. I'd probably cry. Like it was and is, continues to be very instrumental in my life. Like I said, that wasn't the only message I got. That was just the first very, very direct, like, you're doing this, that's what you're here for. And since then, many, many reaffirmations have happened in ways that I could barely begin to explain. But I got the message, and that's all that really matters. Matt says, I think gathering these bright minds here is helping. Exactly. This is like literally the only reason I do this show. Not the only reason. I like love it. I love you guys. I love this. I'm just saying that is the motivation for this. Yeah. Snake Jones's crown chakra opened. Nice. Good job. That's good work. Megsy's in the house. I know how that feels, Snakey. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, we're gonna have music. It's gonna be a good time. We're gonna have like food, music, like make things. We're gonna hang out, but we're also gonna have opportunity to learn new things, practice new things, get sort of readings and whatnot, and have that connection to our spiritual selves also be enhanced. So it's gonna be both. It's definitely gonna be pretty rad. Of course, the solar eclipse on the 14th. Yes, is that the blood moon one? I can't remember. Dakota says it's very hard to control a strong group. Yeah, you can't. That's the whole point of having a strong group. What's up, Wildcraft Wellness? Nice to see you here. The Independent says 3 days of darkness will be very scary. No, that's the whole point. We're empowering ourselves. It's not scary at all. Darkness cannot even be near light. Light automatically vanquishes it. We got this. Oh, and then you say you'll fight off the dark with some sweet tunes from your guitar. Yeah, see? Not scary at all. Easy. Easy. What's up, Jaybird? Not scared. We're not scared. I mean, and if you are scared, it's fine, and we deal with fear. When we acknowledge our fear and we deal with it, then it goes away, and we're good. It's not appropriate. There's people who are like, we can never look at anything dark. We can't even have like a negative thought in our mind. We can't even imagine fear. And it's like, well, you have to be honest, right? This is one of our spiritual teachings that's repeated over and over and over again in every single tradition. Like, you have to start exactly where you are, and you cannot lie about where you are. You can, but your soul knows, God knows, whatever, like life and the world know. You can convince yourself, you can convince other people, but you cannot convince your soul or the source that something that isn't true is true. So the more that you're honest and direct with that, the better things flow. You know what I mean? You got to start where you are. Chrisanne says, some people say the black sun will be visible, causing 3 days of darkness. Yeah, that'd be what? That's another good point. That's another way that the 3 days of darkness could become more real. Like I said, it happens every year, but if there's an additional level of 3 days of darkness, that would be another method of pulling that off. What's up, Gordon Hamill's back? And it's interesting, too, because Saturn is, like, associated with the black sun or the dark sun, you know, but I mean, it's not like Saturn's gonna, like, rush from way over, like, where the fuck Saturn is to, like, you know, but maybe there's another black sun. Darkness flees when light appears. That's exactly right, Candace. Strike a match, Bright Winter. I love it. The golden trickle. The 3 days I speak of. Hopefully you're talking about the 3 days of brightness. Starting on the solstice. We're doing the 3 days of brightness right at the 3 days of darkness. You'd have to re-listen to the whole show to really get it. But I will again show you where the 3 days of brightness is. Will there be liquor? 100 days at a time. If you bring liquor, there will be liquor. I have no rules. You do what you do, man. I don't drink, but you're welcome to. My mouth shall speak the truth. Said, I'm late to class. Dang it. It's okay. I'll give you a tardy slip. You're good. Yes. Yeah, Gordon, come to the 3 days of brightness. We're going to do aura sessions. Clem Fandango says, sounds like fun. Hope to see you there. Chrisanne says her daughter loves the Oregon necklaces. She's wearing it a lot. Yay! That makes me so happy. I love thinking of all this Oregon just out in the world, making people happier, keeping them safe from EMF radiation, whatever it might be, whatever good energies you surround yourself with. Lacey Mariposa, I hope you can come to the 3 days of brightness as well. Decatus says, I am best alone. I feel the same way. I'm actually a completely independent and pretty, I'm actually 50, I'm 49% inverted, not inverted. Oh my God, you guys. What is the word when you're not an extrovert? Introvert. Yeah, it was close. I'm a 49% of an introvert, and I'm very independent, so I get it. But you could also come, if you want to come and keep your camera off the whole time or whatever, like you can still be a part of it and connect with us. You don't have to go too far beyond your comfort zone. I love it. We now have the hashtag Snake Jones knows. Thank you, Gordon. Sans Memetics. Breakaway civilization is our only remedy. It's a possible remedy. I'm not going to disagree with that. Yes, it is okay to fight when you need to fight. That's absolutely true. I always say it. If there's a baby being attacked by a man with a chainsaw, like I'm going to fight to the death that man with a chainsaw. If I have a gun, that man with the chainsaw is going to die. The baby's going to be saved. I just take great caution against most violence because most people are far too quick for it. What's up, Austin Beach? You made it. You made it just at the end. I love it. The Independent's going to walk around for the 3 days of darkness playing guitar and guiding the lost souls with some sweet blues. That's such a beautiful vision. That should have a hashtag Bright Winter after it. Absolutely. Be a warrior in the garden, not a gardener in the war. Yeah. Yeah, insanely good online bingo player. You're right. Golden Trickle again. There's 3 days of darkness every year. You'd have to rewatch the whole show. You're like asking me to summarize an hour and a half of content. But yeah, there's prophecies about it. There's also every single year the sun dies for 3 days starting on the solstice. It doesn't move. It stays in the same point in the sky when it's setting or rising or whatever, or both. I don't remember. Yeah. We're also doing real life meetups starting in the spring. We're hoping to do one in Virginia. We tried to do it last summer. COVID smashed everybody's plans and money and their feelings like they should venture and do anything. And so it ended, but I'm pretty committed to this one because this one I don't have to book. I don't have to put money down on it. It's just being offered to us by one of our badass rogue warriors. Bonnie, and I'll still like sell tickets just so we know who's coming and how many people and everything, but really, really minor, like a pittance, really, and meet up in person and hang out and do fun things too. So both things happen in this community. We'll do virtual events and real life meetups. But yes. Oh, nice. Does Crow 777 agree? I don't know. Agree about what? You'd have to be way more specific. And you'd have to ask him, really, because I'm not him. Yeah, so that's basically the show. I'm so excited to be doing this event. I'm excited for the people who are going to be involved. I'm not sharing yet exactly who's going to be involved because I just have put this together. I do know that it is very likely that Catherine O'Shea will be presenting at least one of the days. And if you have not experienced Catherine yet on the show, you may want to go watch those. She's a very gifted communicator and, very, very clear source of tapping into that messages that are kind of beyond a lot of people on the spiritual level. Super awesome, super, super joyful and loving person. So she is definitely going to be there for at least, like I said, like one session, one of the days or something. The other people I have in mind, I have not yet had confirmation from, but I'm pretty sure that they're probably going to be there, and I will tell you all about that coming up. But again, either way, it's going to be an immense amount of fun, a really good way to pick up new skills, especially on that spiritual, psycho, and mental level, and a way to connect and stay connected with your community and, during a time that might otherwise be pretty challenging. So I really hope you take advantage, especially of the 21% off discount. Like, come on, that's amazing. And you can get that by going to rogue.locals.com and becoming a supporter there. And once you become a supporter, there's certain posts and things that you couldn't see before. And one of those tells you the discount code. So you can grab that anytime you want if you are going to come to this event, which I really hope you do. I don't know when I might cap it. If too many people are coming, I might do a cap. But we'll talk about that when we get there. In the meantime, go check it out and read about it. Go put it in the cart and hit checkout and grab it. There's also a huge benefit to becoming a supporter right now because this offer for a free blessing is still open. So many people have taken advantage of that, and it's been awesome. People have given their testimonials in the rogue.locals.com about the blessing that they received from me and how it went. People are really enjoying that. I love doing it. Right now I am able to do this for free for people, and I love that. So I'm doing that for people who become supporters at rogue.locals.com. So this is like so many reasons to go join rogue.locals.com. I really hope that you do that. There's no reason not to. There's so many reasons too. There's so many free things that you get. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, Gordon says, guys, it's amazing. It is. No one who's there is like, this is dumb. Like, it's rad. And it's only going to get better. Honestly, the more our community grows, the type of people you see in the chat, we have the greatest community here, and those are the exact type of people who are drawn to rogue.locals.com. So go check it out, especially if you're one of the podcast people. There's 3,000 of them out there, you guys. There's 3,000 of them that never come chat with us. If you are one of those people, just go to rogue.locals.com, introduce yourself, and connect with us, and, come to this bright winter retreat. I'm so, so excited about it. It's going to be so, so awesome. All right, you guys, I'm going to head out of here. We're hitting the 2-hour mark soon, and I love you guys so much. You guys are awesome. You're amazing support. You're the best. You're the best students I've ever had. And I really appreciate that about you. So thanks for making it a bright winter in all the ways that you do. And you do so many of them. Play your guitar and walk around the streets, enlightening people. Literally enlightening them. You're bringing the light in. Get it? And all the other things that you do as well. You make my life better, you make your life better, you make everyone's lives better. And keep making it a bright winter for the entirety of it. So no matter what Jupiter, no matter what Saturn, no matter what the sun's lowest point, none of that stuff matters. Just matters that you're making it a bright winter. Every single episode between now and that bright winter retreat is going to be pretty hyper focused on the bright winter theme. We've got some really, really positive. I am so excited. So some of the people in season 5 who are going to be here before we get to the solstice and the 3 days of darkness, the 3 days of the brightest winter retreat, are some of the coolest, most positive, like highest energy people that have never been on the show before, and I'm very lucky to have them. And I'm not going to jinx it by telling you who it is, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be pretty awesome. So don't miss the episodes coming up here. They're going to be cool. I'm very excited. Okay, I'll stop dumping my excitement on you. Go check out the retreat. Grab it, put it in your cart, get it, make sure you're committed. You're going to come be there with us. We're going to do this. It's going to be great. And until you master the art of keeping that brightness through even the darkest of winters, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
It's a one-on-one lesson, so do your homework. Make your dome hurt while up on earth. My bones are blessed from holy dirt. Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Worth more than one can speak. While the tongue feeds a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. I can tell a vision filled with lies disguised as truth, and spread it like the word to the youth. Watch the tube. A place where the God is food is sorcery. To recreate a God forgery does more than meets the eye. Not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Penny, yo. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me, yo?
Sculpted from the ether, the material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional 3 ain't beating me on top of the 4th. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forged with ink drizzle, branched out. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter, that they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they over understand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber kosher wicked hands. Putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals. Artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo. Bioengineered morsels, conversing with machine elves. Bypassing maggots, they stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets. Moloch living lavish, off the backs of the savage. Them clasp hands at the Sabbath. Smack of energy damage, they done twisted the tongues. With nanotech in the lungs, the awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking run.